Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Peachimari's tournament. Today we are going to see the squaring off between Peachimari's and Radioactive. So, Peachimari's, obviously, the namesake of the tournament. They are the team being put up by the org who has been nice enough to set together this tournament. And Radioactive, another team coming in with a lot of promise, and I'm interested to see what they have to offer us.
Oh yeah, it's going to be an exciting match for sure. We've got, the namesake of the tournament is always considered a little top dog that everyone wants to kind of take down, trying to establish themselves. So Radioactive is going to be looking to do that tonight.
Yeah, and if you're Peachimari's, you definitely do not want to be faced with a first game loss. You kind of do want to assert yourself as that top dog you're coming in with the reputation of being.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it looks like we are going to be heading over to Lijiang Tower for our first map here in Peachimari's versus Radioactive. Lijiang Tower, always an exciting map to watch. You're going to see plenty of interesting compositions, things such as, Symmetra makes a lot of appearances here on Lijiang Tower, a lot of Shadow Dive with like Reaper and Sombras and things of that nature, and the occasional brawl coming out in Control Center and Night Market. So an explosive match to start things off is absolutely on the horizon, and I, for one, can't wait to see that get started.
Yes, I am absolutely looking forward to what we're going to be seeing here. Because, as you explained, Lijiang is a map where we do see a lot of different compositions, and I'm intrigued to just see what we're going to see.
All right, we're just waiting for the ready up from the teams at this point to get us loading into this match. What sort of compositions do you think we're going to be seeing to start out with here, Teeb?
To start, I want to kind of lean on a lot of sim. So far, whenever there's been an opportunity, we've been seeing a lot of brawl coming out, especially on maps like King's Row. And I wouldn't be surprised to see some more brawl, especially Night Market and maybe some sim on Control Center.
Sim on Control Center, almost as much of a guarantee as Sim on Night Market. At least to get the teams out, try and get that establishment on point early on. Symmetra is invaluable in that regard. So Lijiang Tower, definitely Symmetra heavy map, especially as well as Symmetra. I'm excited to see a lot of Zarya play on Control Center. Those tight corners allow her to get those strategic bubbles out, get a lot of charge and a lot of value to kind of just keep those fights dragging out, to put a lot of damage out. And Night Market, we see a lot of Doomfist seem to come out on Night Market, especially as of late with the more recent buffs that have come through for him. The increased cooldowns of his abilities when he is using his ultimate. So a Doomfist is absolutely, I am anticipating to see. Gardens, a very aerial heavy map. You see a lot of Birds of Prey being run there, a lot of Pharah, a lot of Echo, sometimes even both being run at the same time. And it makes for an interesting team fight dynamic when you have, basically what accounts to two separate team fights going down of, the whole team is over here at one station of the point, and then you've got some aerial superiority going on in the sky. So many knockdown drag out fights to be had for sure, as well as it's going to fall quite heavily on the support line, I feel, of both teams. Who's going to be able to keep their team up more to prevent that critical first pick, because in control maps like Lijiang Tower, more often than not, you see whichever team gets that first elimination is going to roll through and secure to win that team fight as well. And then from there, honestly, it's just a momentum game. You win that first team fight, you establish your presence on the point, and it's going to be that much harder for your opponent to roll back in, take control over of that point, and try to, win the match back as a whole.
Yeah, and we are going to see coming straight into it now. And like you said, what we're going to try and look for is those first picks that initial momentum coming through, and that can carry you all the way through the map. It is pretty difficult to fight back into it against the sim. Hold angles. You just have to fight your way back in if you lose the first fight, and that is not really a position you want to be in if you don't have to be.
Absolutely. You don't want to ever be in that position. I don't know who would ever want to find themselves in that position. Now, we have about 20 seconds till the doors open, so plenty of opportunities for these team compositions to swap out, but we are going to see, for the moment, both teams running the Symmetra, both teams running this Rhine Diva kind of power-heavy tank line, and the Lucio Baptiste, an amazing support duo for sure. The healing output is one of the best in the game. With ZenDis on Peachimari's and that Junkrat, he's going to see a lot of value in these tight corners to bounce those grenades off of the walls. And GullibleMedi on that Mei, going to be looking to negate that with those Mei walls. Teleporters come out for both teams, and here we go.
Yep, and we're gonna see Peachimari speeding straight into the white room, but he's instantly walled off. Weasel falling immediately. Immortality Field comes out, but it's not enough to save him as LYNKEECHOW goes down too, and we are just gonna see the collapse here with Peachimari's. The Mei absolutely got more value there than the Junkrat, and that's a big compositional difference. The point instantly just going over.
Yes, that Mei wall was critical in giving Radioactive control at that point. Just allowed the team to just put an immense amount of damage out onto Peachimari's.
Yeah, we're gonna see them coming back in, a little bit split by the Mei wall, but nowhere near as much value as it was the last time. Fighting for control over this angle. Sim turrets putting down big damage. WeaselCake's almost out of a shield. Playing this angle, the Riptire coming out from ZenDis. What is he gonna find with it? He gets Miko. That could be a big pick, but the scatter could be even bigger coming out from VesperSea. Amp window out with the fire strikes, gonna seal the deal on Capslok's life, and just pretty back and forth fight so far. We've had big moments for both fights. Alright, the bomb is coming out from NanoMagnet. Not going to find anything, but it's going to make them a little bit of space. But ZenDis is just going to claim it right back with a kill on the RoseThorn. This fight is extremely chaotic. Sim wall out as well. Whichever team comes out on the end of this, either way, they've still invested probably more ultimates than they'd like to. WeaselCake going down, the Blizzard coming out from Gullible. But he dies. And we're just gonna see still an extremely scrappy fight. No one able to close it down. But it looks like the Peachimari is finally going to pull out of it with actually quite a few ults to show.
Yeah, you think Gullible might be wanting that Blizzard back. He did manage to get the freeze down onto Star to prevent the Blizzard from being eaten. And we're entering overtime territory. It looks like LYNKEECHOW is going to have to loop around, try to touch for overtime. Is he going to make it? Oh, he's barely going to touch.
Amp wall out, another shatter laid down by VesperSea. But he eats it right back from WeaselCake, and he is going to be the losing one in that interaction. As ZenDis finds two, WeaselCake with a kill on the Gullible, and it did not look good here for holding this point. We are going to see the 99-0 flip on the part of the Peachimaris.
Yeah, those two shatters coming out, it's the question of which one was able to get more value, and VesperSea, he had a big shatter, but WeaselCake had his team right behind him to follow that up, and that's where you're going to see that point flipping. And an early pick under RoseThorn is probably going to stop that push for Radioactive cold in the water. So we're going to see them regrouping and waiting for their Baptiste before they try to re-engage.
Yeah, that fight is really dead in the water without all that healing, especially up against something as bursty as this junk. But he finds the kill again and he drops the window. Well, Diva Bomb coming out. We're just gonna see very slow progress being made, but ZenDis not allowing it. NanoMagnet tries to even the odds, but it doesn't matter because ZenDis has already done enough.
Yeah, he's going to be wanting that ultimate back. Now, the ult economy is certainly going to start favoring Peachimaris here. You want to look at those support ults. LYNKEECHOW almost has that sound barrier online. They basically have the Riptire, so this is a support fight to be sure. Radioactive might want to lose this one dry just to build up their ults.
Yeah, and we're going to see the Immortality Field coming out from RoseThorn, but it doesn't even save himself, as Peachimari is now able to just come in clean up after ZenDis again finding that crucial first pick like you were talking about before. Immediate momentum shift, and at this point, we're coming to a final fight territory.
Oh yeah, I mean, you want to keep your eyes on the ultimate economy here. WeaselCake and LYNKEECHOW having their ultimates up, but Gullible's Blizzard might be able to negate at least one of those. So the question here is usage. With WeaselCake getting denied, it's all eyes are going to be on LYNKEECHOW for Peachimaris.
And there goes the other shatter blocked as well. The wall is out. ZenDis and Star already putting their names on the board, and there's no touch. 199 with a comeback from Peachimaris. That is what you love to see.
You love to see, and you hate to be on the losing end of a point reverse sweep, but Peachimaris do manage to cap it out. LYNKEECHOW having the weight of the world on his shoulders with that sound barrier, and then just having it lifted right off, courtesy of his DPS, Sushi and ZenDis, putting in the work that they needed to secure those eliminations and allow Peachimaris to take that first map. So already the momentum is in full swing on Peachimaris, our hosts for this tournament. They are going to be going into point B a bit more confident, pulling out a more dive-heavy comp with that Tracer Pharah dive tanks, but no swaps on the side of Radioactive, so they might be anticipating a brawl on the point.
Yeah, what I think Radioactive are looking to try and do is exactly this. They just want to hold this point here. And if they can win this fight, it's going to be very hard for that dive comp to come back into point. And that's a very good start with a DMEC on the Star. WeaselCake is poking for any sort of advantage that he can find. But really, it's hard to fight your way onto this point, especially with the Winston. Okay, Miko drops dangerously low there, and he actually does fall Sushi with the first kill onto this point. And ZenDis already building up a barrage, sends it right back home, and that'll be that fight.
Yeah, the LYNKEECHOW on the Mercy allowing ZenDis to get that barrage up definitely put all of the control into Peachimari's pockets for that fight. Capslok going to be swapping off of his hero, settling on the Ash, and they're going to be looking to hunt that Pharmacy out of the sky.
Yeah, and I think if they can get rid of that consistent source of damage on the part of Peachimaris, Radioactive are going to have a pretty decent chance trying to recontest this. Capslok sitting up on that high ground finds Sushi instead, and this is still pretty good for Radioactive. The bomb coming out with the Primal, and three! 4-piece on the part of the tanks with the Nano, Primal, and the bomb coming out. Maybe more of an investment than you'd like, but it gets the job done.
Oh, as big as that self-destruct was, I don't think Star regrets that, because he was demeched in the middle of that fight and used the ultimate to try to get it back. Finding 3 was just an extra bit of icing on the cake. However, with nothing more than a Valkyrie and Barrage, they won't have a lot of zoning potential, whereas VesperSea and NanoMagnet pulling their tank ultimates online, they have the potential to push the members of Peachimari off of the point and try to re-establish presence on there. And with that Blizzard coming up as well, gotta wonder if that's gonna work with all the dive and mobility that Peachimaris have. Who are you going to find as the Shatter comes out?
Going in fast with the Shatter, and Kirbellious is already dead, and Star is out of the mech. WeaselCake going down as well. This is exactly the kind of retouch that you want to see on the part of Radioactive. They went in one ult and just ran forward. But here comes Gullible drops his Blizzard, and ZenDis answering back with a barrage. But this fight is pretty even. Capslok going down does put it in the favor of the Peachimaris. However, on the point, anything goes. NanoMagnet's gonna drop the bomb. Immortality Field coming out. VesperSea rolls on back in. Kirbellious very dangerous situation. This is not a happy camper right there. Primal coming out. We're going to see last-minute recontests coming in from Radioactive. If they lose this, they lose the entire map. So what they really need to do here is flip this point. LYNKEECHOW getting another kill. Miko is just hanging on by dear life. Gullible does manage to find it onto the Winston, but I'm not convinced it's going to be enough. VesperSea slept on the way back in, and it is not enough. Peachimari takes the map 2-0.
An incredible performance being shown by the Peachimaris, absolutely dominant. You see, they don't always need that initial contest, that initial capture of the point in order to show that they are a team worth keeping your eyes on, as we see another view of that devastating self-destruct from Star. The support line putting in much work in that match. LYNKEECHOW as the Mercy, keeping his DPS up and in that fight. And we saw the Ana from Miko throwing in anti-grenade after anti-grenade, just denying all the healing that he could from the side of Peachimari's. Kirbellious also doing the same thing, managing to find a little more value with his sleep. So we didn't see a lot of the Peachimari members getting hit with those sleep darts. Whereas Kirbellious, especially when he was one of the last few on point in that final overtime battle, managed to sleep the Reinhardt as he fell to the hammer that swung across his skull right as that dart connected. But it was enough to allow his team to try to get back in, establish more of a presence, and especially allowed WeaselCake to get that primal rage off. And there's not a lot you can do against a primal rage Winston in such an enclosed space, no matter who you are, short of having him discorded, slept, and just crowd controlled from every member in the game that you could throw crowd control on. WeaselCake and Star definitely showing an absolutely stellar performance. Very well synchronization between these two tanks, able to just play off of each other with little to no deviation out of anything. You would see the dives being executed perfectly. We saw plenty of damage negation coming through from Star on round 1, keeping WeaselCake up, as his Ryan was just able to keep that shield up, protecting the rest of the team, allowing Sushi and ZenDis to go to work. Radioactive is going to have to look to perhaps either isolate a member of Peachimari's and maybe try a bit more of a dive heavy composition on their side to see what they could do to eliminate the very well clustered grouping that Peachimari's have been able to execute in this first map. If they aren't able to pull that off, then it's just a matter of who are they going to be able to eliminate first? Who are they going to be able to stop providing value to their team? Is it going to be, Star and that Diva? Are they going to have to look to get those DMEX? Is it WeaselCake that they're going to have to look to deny any shielding that he has? It's really, there's a lot of different ways that they can approach this, and they're going to have to really step it up, pick a plan, and zero in on it if they're going to want to take the next map and try to continue on from here.
Of course, and as you were saying, a lot of the success Radioactive found in that Lijiang map was when they were able to pick out a specific target and then get rid of them. So I kind of have to agree that the dive could work to their benefit if they can isolate someone, get rid of them, because in the 5v6, they've been looking pretty good. It's just once the 6v6 goes on for too long, and Sushi and ZenDis are allowed to do their thing, that's when Radioactive are looking a little bit shakier.
It's definitely turning into a point of Radioactive they have this cold calculated approach to things. When you could see at the start of some of those fights, they would have a brief moment where they would maybe like micro adjusting their positioning and preparing to engage, whereas Peachimaris were just, oh, what's this, we're brawling? That's exactly where we thrive, and thrive they did. When those fights dragged on, I don't think I ever saw one of those fights going the way of Radioactive. Peachimari's just in the throwing knuckles, just managed to take, honestly, complete control over all of those fights. So Radioactive is going to, as you had said, as we'd been talking about, they're going to have to force an isolation, try and take a member down early. In the 5v6, they've had the advantage, but they haven't always been able to follow up on it and get that critical second pick to really secure the team fight in their favor. We are seeing a substitution come through for Peachimari's. We are going to see DerpyTheElf coming in for ZenDis and the DPS role. No other substitutions coming through on either side, and we will be seeing Hanamura for our assault map, the 2-point CP. This is a lovely map to have many sort of dive compositions. You're going to see a little bit of brawl coming through as well, but on the attacker side of things, dive is honestly what most of us are accustomed to seeing on maps such as these, trying to just get in, establish that point presence, and just slug it out, drag it out as much as we can.
Yeah. Please remind me never to get into a boxing match with WeaselCake, because as you said, she will fold you in the brawl. She is not afraid, and neither is the rest of the team. And looking into this map, I wonder if they're not going to try and play more brawl.
Brawl, a composition that kind of fits in most any enclosed map. So 2-point CP and your standard control, we're going to see plenty of brawl in all of the situations. And if you're Peachimari's, what do you do when you have the flagship banner that is WeaselCake rolling through and flattening your enemies? Well, you just go right behind them and continue to flatten enemies right along with them. So WeaselCake definitely going to have a target on their back from the members of Radioactive, showing off that, okay, you're going to want to be taking us down. A mirror composition, another Symmetra May to get us going on a Hanamura. The teleporter to point strategy, I mean, I think everyone uses that in their own competitive games, that just get in there and teleport either up on the high ground, straight to point. So that May going to be looking to deny that, maybe cut some of the members off of Radioactive. Peachimari's beginning their attack.
Yeah, we're gonna look here for this TP straight onto the point. Derpy drops his wall, and their wall there was maybe misplaced a little bit. The idea, I believe, was to keep Radioactive from contesting, but it doesn't seem to matter because Weasel and Star in the brawl, again, unstoppable. Weasel asserting absolute dominance over the back line, and it's just clean up from here. That was an absolute masterclass in Hanamura Point A.
Yeah, and the Alpha Shatter comes out from WeaselCake just to secure that kill onto Star. Look at how fast Weasel was able to build up that Shatter, whereas VesperSea still sitting down at 65%. That right there just shows you how well the synergy is between the tanks, and the support line of Peachimari is just allowing Weasel to go as chaotic as they could. We have a pause coming through. It seems like we have, yep, there it is. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties with the substitution DerpyTheElf. Looks like we had a disconnect from the game. But I mean, it goes without saying, the Symmetra teleporter you're almost always going to see on your Hanamura maps, and I don't know if Radioactive was maybe prepared for it, and if that was something that they could have maybe prevented, but they did manage to kind of fall back, establish a little bit of a presence, put a little bit more of a fight back, but the eliminations were just rolling through for the side of Peachimari's, and WeaselCake in an enclosed space like that, that Reinhardt hammer having that massive swing art was hitting maybe 2-3 per people per swing. The ultimate charge just building up, ramping up, and the support line, LYNKEECHOW and Kirbellious, I mean, the work that they put in on that first point, that's another thing we can look at with their support charge, when ultimate charge rather, sorry, when we go back into the match, and as we are going back in right now, you want to look at the support ultimate difference. LYNKEECHOW basically has the sound barrier, Kirbellious basically has the window, to Miko's 50% sound barrier and RoseThorn's 30% amplification matrix. The support line of Radioactive is just absolutely doing their job of keeping their team up, but the offensive side of Peachimaris is just too much for them, and their support line is putting in the same amount, if not more, work. So it's going to be an issue of, can you eliminate the support line, the support for WeaselCake and Star, because without that, the team around them, they may be crumbling in the fights.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Miko!
We're going to see an amazing rotation around the side with the teleporter and then up onto that high ground. Star throws in the bomb, finds Miko, and Gullible goes in another questionable blizzard. LYNKEECHOW making use of that sound barrier you were talking about, and Weasel, their second shatter of the game, lays it down right onto NanoMagnet. Is there even really going to be a meaningful opportunity to contest? Miko's going to go down, and because of 2 CP, they're going to be able to get some touches, but I really don't know in this situation how well you fare on this defense. And VesperSea going down isn't making it look any better. NanoMagnet losing the mech. We are just going to see cleaning up. We're going to find probably the second tick coming through now for the Peachimaris, as that sim turret slows the Lucio down, and that is it. 4:23 is the finish time on this Hanamura attack. That was absolutely blistering.
A stellar time bank. How the Peachimaris are able to roll through an entire match, having more time in their time bank than what they started, is nothing short of perfection in their ability to play together as a team, keeping each other up, putting out the damage, and protecting the high value targets. LYNKEECHOW and Kirbellious, honestly, the amount of life saving abilities that those two had used. I saw just a multitude of immortality fields going down to protect targets who were so close to being eliminated. Star, a baby diva should not survive any engagement in an enclosed space, especially on a map like Hanamura. And Star was demeched at least once, possibly even twice in that final fight, and was able to remech in the middle of the fight and keep things going. Not only remech, but remech and still manage to catch up in ultimate economy and ultimate value and find the self-destruct as well and eliminate Miko on that early push was just icing on the cake for Star. But LYNKEECHOW and Kirbellious managing to keep all of that up. We're going to have to see something change for the side of Radioactive, whether it's DPS managing to step up or VesperSea just having to re-engage against WeaselCake and kind of shut that down. Something has got to give here. So Radioactive beginning their attack. We're going to see what could happen, what they're going to do.
Immediately blazing straight forward onto the high ground and finding the kill onto Kirbellious, but Sushi answers right back in kind with a kill onto RoseThorn. But they have entrenched themselves onto the point, and it's like they're on defense all over again, but this time they are not going to get rolled. Star, as a baby diva, still just chilling on the point, but they finally go down. And this is going to look like an attack that is almost just as fast on the part of Radioactive. Answering back, they will not be rolled.
Man, I gotta tell you, the amount of times I have played Diva and been demeched and immediately screamed, knowing its fate is death, the baby Diva knows no fear, is irrelevant to Star. That mythology means nothing, because not only is Star no fearing right back into the fight as that baby Diva almost manages to remech again on that first fight. In fact, did manage to get the remech going. They just eliminated him before he was able to get back into it. So, just an absolutely fearless performance from Star, clutching out fights for his team, even as the baby. It's nothing short of incredible.
Absolutely. Apparently, fear is not a part of their lexicon, and, well, maybe it should be, because that one, going down that early...
Oh, that's questionable.
You're in Narnia there, but, it is still winnable. That is all you've lost, and because of 2 CP, they'll be back pretty fast. VesperSea dropping down the shatter, and WeaselCake. Ooh, Kirbellious isn't up in time to get the immortality field out. We may actually see a pretty even time score here, unless the Peachimaris can pull out some sort of amazing stall, because that was possibly even a faster attack. They're gonna get it with 2:24 on the clock to the 2 minutes.
Gullible.
Score.
Gullible. Maybe the blizzards have been a little questionable, but that wall absolutely was immaculate. Perfect way to stop the recontest and ensure that you finish with even more time than Peachimaris. That was insane.
Oh, gullible saying, hey, it says gullible on my May wall. Now, if you had to pick an MVP of that last fight, though, I think eyes would turn to Miko, which you wouldn't be wrong because that sound barrier absolutely clutched things out for Radioactive in that final fight. Without that sound barrier, you don't survive that Bob. You don't survive the bomb that Star threw in. You don't survive that fight. However, if we're going with who's the reason that Radioactive won that last fight, my eyes are immediately going to RoseThorn because Miko, I don't know if it was caught on the camera and if it was caught maybe in the corner or what, but Miko was actually hit by Sushi's Bob uppercut into the air, and that made Miko, that squishy Lucio, the primary focus fire target of Bob, who immediately began to drop that sound barrier as they reached the height of that uppercut, which uh, there's not enough time. If you get hit with that uppercut as Bob, Bob will take you down before you hit the ground. RoseThorn seeing this and having the wherewithal to throw down the immortality field right where Miko is going to land, allowing him to stay alive and ensure that that sound barrier goes out. Just phenomenal game presence and awareness, allowing his support partner to stay alive, keep the team up, and guarantee that fight, basically.
Yes, absolutely. Chef's kiss to the support line of Radioactive there. But it looks like, just like shades of the first round, we're going to see very fast attack, and you can tell they actually prepared for it. Capslok set up the teleporter behind so they could recontest this a little bit better, but they've been forced back now that VesperSea is dead. And with RoseThorn falling, it's only a matter of time until the rest of the team. Gullible does assert May dominance over Derpy as a sort of condolence prize, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. That fight very solidly over to the Peachimaris yet again.
Absolutely, that fight was Peachimari's from the moment it started, but this next fight is going to heavily favor, despite the ultimate difference, this fight is going to favor Radioactive, because whereas Peachimaris have their Symmetra Wall, their Earth Shatter, and Sound Barrier, Radioactive almost have and will probably pick up all 6 of their ultimates in this fight.
Alright, they're gonna Radioactive forcing down Peachimari, Stim Wall, and just standing there on the point, but NanoMagnet
Linky!
And that is not what you want to see. You hear the Peachimari.
Oh!
Is it down? Massive shatter going to absolutely dismantle this offense. We're down to 40 seconds on the clock for the Peachimaris to make something happen here. So we're probably going to see them go for a desperate teleporter play.
This is single fight territory. Peachimari is going to be wanting all of those ultimates back because the ball is solidly in Radioactive's court right now. 3 ultimates to Peachimari's 1, and it's a self-destruct, which doesn't find much value in terms of eliminations. It's going to be a zoning ult that will buy them the time they need to get on the point, assuming he's not demeched here. Star.
That is not what you want to see if you're Star. Throws in the bomb, looking for something, but VesperSea is the only one who finds a kill off of that. VesperSea has gotten 2 Fire Strike kills this fight. Gullible dropping the Blizzard on the point. WeaselCake is falling. LYNKEECHOW going out in kind, and it's just cleanup right now as we see this defense from Radioactive holding them on second. Not even a kick, it's looking like.
They certainly stepped their game up from the first engagement of Point B on Hanamura. They were absolutely prepared for those fights. They managed to build up. I think, honestly, the point loss on Point A might have not been intentional from the get-go, but once they saw what was going on with VesperSea getting eliminated early in that fight, from there on, I fully believe Radioactive was well aware of what was happening, and they chose to give up Point A and just build their ultimates up, and it was just the best strategy that they could have run. Having almost your entire team have ultimates online for the Point B engagement, strategically planning out splitting the ultimate usage in half to use 3 ults in the first engagement, 3 ults in the second engagement, and have at least 1 zoning crowd control ultimate in both fights. Just an amazing game presence from Radioactive. So Peachimaris, they do manage to get that first point as we get another pause. They do manage to get that first point, and they took it very cleanly. The problem is they took it a little too clean, if that's such a thing, because the ultimate bank was just heavily favoring 2 people, and it wasn't enough for the rest of the team to be prepared for that second fight. Star looking like, yeah, the star of the team earlier on in these fights, but towards the end of the round 3 there, gotta raise an eyebrow, because that self-destruct throwing in absolutely a smart intent with the plan to maybe zone the members out, try to secure an early pick to get your team in, but getting yourself eliminated in the process, that just honestly, the moment that Star fell in that final fight was the moment that this match was over. LYNKEECHOW throwing just incredible sound barriers to keep the members of Peachimaris up, falling in the process to Nano self-destruct in that final fight, if not the fight before that, whenever it did happen, was still not something that you wanted to see if you're Peachimaris, because, you know, you have the sound barrier from the Lucio, but without the utility follow-up of his speed boost or his healing to maybe make up the differential of any missing health while the sound barrier keeps you alive, would have been astronomical in terms of the difference between a win or a loss on that second fight, on that second point fight, rather. Kirbellious picking up the slack, absolutely, but while I do feel I'm seeing a bit more Kirbellious shining to RoseThorn's Baptiste on the side of Radioactive, we're seeing more consistency coming through on the side of RoseThorn, because he's not falling as often. His team is not falling as often. He's keeping them alive longer, keeping these fights dragging out longer, which does, you know, as we had said earlier, it does favor the members of Peachimaris, who do seem to thrive in this kind of chaotic brawling situation. But it's also building up the support ultimates, not just for RoseThorn with the consistency from the Baptiste, but it's allowing Miko to just kind of get the utilization of the speed boosts and building up those sound barriers even more so. So you gotta wonder, LYNKEECHOW and Kirbellious, you're putting in the work, you're having these amazing performances, but there are other opportunities where you're dropping the ball. So what's going to win it out here? Is it going to be the consistency that's being shown from the support line of Radioactive, or is it going to be the fluctuation of performance, getting those big plays when they need them from Peachimaris? Kind of gonna go either way here as we go ahead into the final round of Hanamura.
Yeah, and I guess we'll see. We've got the TP onto the high ground, but DerpyTheElf instantly with a kill on the RoseThorn. And, you know, Peachimaris may, or Radioactive may be in charge at this point here, but Peachimaris are fighting their way back in pretty soundly. They're gonna lose the mech on the way back in, and Kirbellious falls. DerpyTheElf looking for something here, but it looks like this is going to be a pretty clean attack here on the part of
oh, cheeky
Star bringing down the mech onto VesperSea's head. It's gonna make for, you know, funny little icon in the kill feed, but it's not gonna change anything on that part. As NanoMagnet doing so much work that fight. I saw at least 5 kills or something from Nano. It was insane.
Oh, it was absolutely insane. Star, though, that cheeky squish on the VesperSea. I'm gonna say that's too little too late, though, because VesperSea still manages to get an insane amount of ultimate charge before he goes down. Radioactive have all the cards in the deck in their favor.
Yeah. They're only looking for one pick, and they've got a minute and a half. The sound barrier coming out from Miko. Star out of mech. They're not focusing this though. They're not going to try and focus down this baby diva, even after what happened with Vespers. There we go. Going down, NanoMagnet. And we're going to see the bomb come out onto the Orisa. Nobody touches. And that pick goes in the favor of Radioactive. Bob coming in a little too late to save it.
Bob trying to get that participation medal, trying to say, hey guys, I was there too. But man, Nano having just a dominant diva performance. It goes back to what I was just saying about the support line. It's a consistency issue. Star is having some phenomenal plays, massive self-destructs on Li Zhang Tower. massive self-destructs here on Hanamura. Not as much elimination value, but still a lot of utility value. But it's very counterproductive when you're having these phenomenal plays. You're throwing in these self-destructs to get much damage, much zoning, and you're falling in the process. Whereas NanoMagnet, you're not seeing the kill feed light up with, sparkling bunnies from self-destructs coming through from NanoMagnet, but he is getting crucial eliminations. He is denying an insane amount of damage that's coming through onto VesperSea for the most part. You can't necessarily defense matrix a mech falling from the sky, but Radioactive, I don't see them really losing out from here on. Consistency, now that they've got their kind of momentum going, they're into full swing of things. It is absolutely going to turn into a consistency battle. They're going to be able to keep up this performance, because if they do, Peachimaris is going to be in big trouble. So there's going to have to be some sort of swap, some sort of strategic change on the side of Peachimaris.
Yeah, it definitely seems like the Radioactive have hit their stride a little bit. We are going to have a short break here, but before that, I just want to talk about the difference, even at, like you were talking about the off-tank diff, it's also kind of applicable for main tank. We saw WeaselCake earlier on Lijiang and on parts of Hanamura, like in that play of the game we saw not too shortly ago. We saw WeaselCake getting a lot of big plays, but VesperSea has stepped it up. They're not dying as often, and they're making the space that they need to make. So I think that is really, again, a testament to the consistency now that Radioactive is starting to show. And if they can carry that consistency forward, it is not looking amazing for Peachimaris. So they're going to have to figure out how to perform at that highest level we were seeing on places like Lijiang. They're going to have to figure out how to perform at that level more consistently than they are.
Consistency is key. Consistency is going to be key. Consistency is going to decide who takes away this series. So we're going to go to that halftime right now, but stick around. You are not going to want to miss the second half of this insane series.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Peachimari's tournament. Week 1, match 3 between Peachimari's and Radioactive. We are just off break, and yeah, let's see what's next.
Exciting map does not even come close, honestly. We have Kings Row coming up for our hybrid map, and I don't know what else to say aside from Kings Row is a map that has no set play style. We have dive comps coming through on Kings Row. We have brawl comps coming through on Kings Row. We have birds of prey, Symmetra teleporters, tank duos of every variety that you can imagine. Ryan Zarya, Ryan Diva, Zarya Sigma, Ball Hog, Orisa Hog, just everything under the sun gets thrown out on Kings Row. It is, from what I have seen in the Overwatch community, the Overwatch community's favorite map. It's my favorite map for a multitude of reasons. We get to see anything and everything, and on top of that, in terms of compositions, you also get to see such things as absolutely slugfest, chaotic brawl fights that Peachimaris are going to thrive in. But you're also going to see these cold, calculated, just knockout, quick wipe fights that Radioactive seem to be very comfortable, we'll say, with. Now, as we head into the map, I want to say my eyes are going to be on the main tanks. WeaselCake and VesperSea on Kings Row, especially on this first capture point, that's where the differences get made. That initial choke, you do not want to be caught out in it. We're going to see, absolutely, we're going to be seeing some Mays. If not, I will find a hat, buy a hat, and then eat my hat. Because that May wall up the choke to isolate team members just shuts down pushes so handedly. And if that doesn't work, it falls to the main tanks. And Reinhardt, we're going to see, yep, there it is. VesperSea, WeaselCake on their Reinhardts. Reinhardt thrives in Kings Row. This is Reinhardt's map. Despite Eichenwald being his map in canon, this map is where Reinhardt is going to thrive. So my eyes are going to be right there on those two. What about you, T?
Yes, of course. Another thing that I kind of want to look at is the difference here between this Hanzo, which has been subbed in Radioactive, or Peachimaris, my apologies, have subbed in P-Dog on the Hanzo, compared to Capslok, who's going to be running that Symmetra yet again. So that tells me they're going for teleporter rotations. They're probably going to be looking for a lot closer fights, whereas Peachimaris might want to play it a bit more reserved.
Defend objective A.
Right, and as the doors open, we have a little bit of a late lock-in from Star. It gets onto that Diva, so he's going to try and get back quickly, but Peachimari's down a man advantage as the fight engages on the point with that Symmetra teleporter. NanoMagnet finding the early pick onto ZenDis as the May walls and Immortality fields come out. With WeaselCake falling not long after, this fight is already in complete control of Radioactive. The DMEC comes through onto NanoMagnet. I'm speaking too soon because it does not, but it was about to.
Yes, and that is exactly what I was talking about with the difference between that Sim and the Hanzo. You saw Radioactive had the freedom to really take that fight as pretty much as fast as they wanted to, and so long as the Hanzo isn't landing those crucial arrows like that, it's mostly fine.
Oh!
I'm on fire.
But of
And
course, as soon as I say it, he gets a three-piece.
A devastating Dragon Strike coming out from P-Dog.
And that is exactly what you want to see when you have this Hanzo running into these sort of death ball comps. You want to be able to get those Dragon Strikes up and take advantage of the grouping here from Radioactive. Miko didn't even come close to a sound barrier to be able to fight off from that, and there's another crucial kill onto Capslok.
P-Dog, just an instant headshot onto that Symmetra trying to set up that teleporter. The Maze setting up another fight alley up here as VesperSea throws down the Earth Shatter. It gets denied though, doesn't find any value. The self-destruct being thrown in from Star, and he manages to find Miko as Kirbellious pops down the Amplification Matrix to up some damage. ZenDis denying NanoMagnet's self-destruct with a May wall as another amplification matrix comes out from RoseThorn, but he's going to be wanting that back because he gets taken down in the fight. And this is already stopped. The cart barely making it through the choke point. Peachimaris need to find their footing here, T.
Yeah, I was a little bit confused to see that investment there from Radioactive. After having already lost one, they decided to continue going in with ults, and I'm sure that if they could make a wish on a star, they would absolutely want those ults back. Alright, ZenDis throwing in the blizzard.
Oh!
T-Dog follows it up.
Devastating ultimate usage from the DPS of Radioactive. The Blizzard isolating the members of Peachimaris in place, allowing P-Dog's dragon to just coast through, each of the two dragons getting a nice healthy snack from the members of Peachimaris, and just a devastating hold. They're inching it along, and hey, you know what? It might be enough progress to make it in eventually, but you're gonna need to win a fight at some point if you're Peachimaris. This WeaselCake just flattens the members of Radioactive, or Peachimaris rather. Big symmetrical wall, denying a lot of damage coming through as the members of Radioactive are being pushed back a little bit. Star throwing in the self-destruct, managing to get a zone, but no elimination value. As VesperSea and Capslok go down, and Radioactive are going to be able to push back once again. Oh, that wall just absolutely stopping GullibleMedi in place. Manages to find that mirror pick onto ZenDis, but goes down in the process, and with Star Nano getting demeched by Star, they are just gonna play with their food. Come on, guys. Didn't your mothers ever teach you not to do that? But Nano gets back in the mech, manages to put some damage out, throws out the self-destruct. Is he gonna find anything? No, but he gets back in mech again. Radioactive, what are you doing, guys?
Oh
VesperSea gets back and gets that Earth Shatter onto Star. Nano with a devastating negate onto P-Dog's dragons, but WeaselCake takes down VesperSea, puts Radioactive back in the fight. An amplification matrix comes out from RoseThorn to try and get his members some extra damage, some extra healing. Gullible throws out the blizzard as Kirbellious drops the window, only to be frozen in place behind it, and he can do nothing but watch as his window gets no value before he takes an icicle to the head, and the cart finally begins to consistently move along.
Why did that work? I'm very confused. VesperSea finding a bit of a stagger on the P-Dog there, but I'm still confused as to how that worked.
Nano
So
with
that,
disgusting.
For that point, I want to point out that, again, the difference between the Hanzo and the Sim. Once they got in, Radioactive were thriving in brawls. Even went down a couple.
Oh!
Dropping the hammer, and it's just going to be a clean sweep through this first part of C.
I don't know if that was caught, but I want to point out that Miko did not get that boop after the shatter went down. He booped the members of Radioactive as the shatter was coming out. So they were already airborne as their character models decided to lie down and just fall to the depths of King's Row.
That is exactly the kind of thing you want to see from a Lucio on this point. If your Lucio can find those, you'll be thriving.
The Divas trading self-destructs here with Nano finding a pick on P-Dog and Star finding the pick on Vespa, both ones taking down the immortality fields. However, that is going to favor the members of Radioactive, and they are going to be pushing back.
Miko!
Miko!
What are you doing this, man?
Somebody test this man for steroids! What is Miko? What is Miko putting in their breakfast smoothies to have the awareness and coordination to get these boops and to send these members flying as much as they are?
I don't know, man. If this keeps happening, it's gonna be good. But WeaselCake with a massive shatter.
P-Dog was just hiding out in the backgrounds, throws those dragons to zone out the members of Peachimaris. VesperSea having that devastating Earth Shatter, flattening the entirety of Radioactive's line. But it finds no value because it gets frozen out, and then the other members of the team don't get any follow-up from that Dragon Strike, and it's just a little bit of a cleanup here as they manage to get a couple of eliminations, get that cart moving. A rocky start, but they are managing to show wonderful performance to continue that cart moving in. WeaselCake denying a solo shatter attempt from VesperSea. And a sound barrier comes out from LYNKEECHOW as ZenDis throws out that Blizzard, allowing 2 picks onto Miko and Capslok. Are they going to be able to push the card in? NanoMagnet getting that self-destruct online. So far, it's not going to find any value as P-Dog and Star get 2 eliminations and stop the push cold. RoseThorn with smart yeet over the edge, getting back with the team.
Hurling his body off of the map, and what we're really looking for here, we're looking for Miko to be able to build that sound barrier, give his team a lot more longevity into this fight, so that way they are able to keep it going and eventually push it deep. LYNKEECHOW had to burn the the sound barrier in that last fight to keep it going. Star throwing in the Diva Bomb, finds VesperSea with NanoMagnet, answers in kind.
And big Symmetra Wall comes out as Gullible gets the Blizzard online. Is he going to throw it? So far he doesn't feel the need to as he takes down ZenDis. NanoMagnet squishing Kirbellious with that massive mech. Dragon Strike comes out from P-Dog. Does manage to take down RoseThorn and a late pick onto Capslok. So that is going to force Gullible to throw out the Blizzard to try and secure the fight for the team. Weasel comes out on the ball to try and have that stall potential, but it doesn't mean much when you turn yourself into a snowball, and it allows Radioactive to capture the point.
Yeah, and, you know, they didn't get in with time to spare. It was looking like they might have at the beginning of that C, but Peachimaris did manage to stabilize it a bit there, and P-Dog's Hanzo has been nothing but impressive so far. I mean, he's been able to consistently find these kills both with normal arrows, and he's just doing so much damage that the Dragon Strike feels like it's online almost every other fight.
Yeah, we're seeing almost cooldown dragons coming out of P-Dog, and Hanzo, a character typically known for their burst damage potential, he's throwing out some very consistent damage, finding, you know, he's either a body shot bandit or he's nailing consistent headshots to just build up that old charge. The Dragon Strike almost always online, almost always ready. It's just phenomenal. Somebody needs to keep an eye on this man and just watch what he's going to be doing in this next round with this Cowboy, because now, or this Pharah, whatever he decides to settle on, but just wow.
Yeah, he's being an absolute menace to society. Let's see what he can get done on the Widowmaker here. Okay, look, the Widow is just a tease.
I think they can hear us up here. They're just trying to mess around. Here we go. We're seeing Cowboy May roll out for the Peachimaris attack on point A of King's Row. They get up to the choke, couple of fire strikes being traded. VesperSea getting a little more value as he does manage to take down LYNKEECHOW. So if I'm Peachimaris, that attack push is over. I'm pulling back. But Peachimaris is not me. They decided to go in, lose Kirbellious and Star's mech in the process, and they're just feeding. Well, they're just feeding ult charge. They're just feeding ult charge. What are you doing, guys?
Yeah.
LYNKEECHOW.
And when you say that, they really are just feeding ult charge. If you look at Weasel compared to VesperSea on the ult, if you look at ZenDis compared to Gullible, Radioactive is winning the ult economy here. And in terms of that fire strike, I want to talk a little bit about Capslok. Those turrets softened that Lucio up for the fire strike. So that was either luck or an extreme level of coordination to notice that Lucio was low and go for the fire strike. But it looks like this fight is underway here. With down 1 on the part of Radioactive, kiting back on this point a little bit.
And it's going to favor Peachimaris the more it gets drawn out here. As NanoMagnet throws in that self-destructive zone, Peachimaris off the point, zone them off, it does. However, Gullible trying to freeze an already ice-blocked ZenDis. Trading blizzards here, both teams getting caught in these big bubbles of ice. ZenDis taking down his mirror of Gullible as the Symmetra Wall and Amplification Matrix come out for Radioactive. VesperSea getting dropped down by ZenDis as LYNKEECHOW drops the sound barrier to give Peachimaris the longevity they need to win this brawl fight. And the longevity they get, and this fight is going to be absolutely won, as WeaselCake just swings through the team, squishing skulls left and right. Star getting that self-destruct online after spending a lot of time in Baby Diva form for that first fight.
Again, Star on the Baby Divas. very, very threatening. It's like another DPS almost, just a less mobile tracer or something. But building up the self-destruct, and just as fast as those ults came online for Radioactive, they were used up in that fight. And I'm sure if you're Radioactive, you're absolutely like, you're disappointed with that investment.
We want those back, absolutely. We do have the sound barrier for Miko, but we would like everything else back. P-Dog setting his clock. Big shatter comes through. P-Dog taking down Vesper. Star, another just devastating self-destruct. Star, you're going to be put on the watch list of the United Nations at this point with the amount of explosives that you're carrying, buddy. Just putting it out there.
Star is a walking improvised explosive device. This is absolutely ridiculous.
That is the 4th double kill self-destruct he has had across this entire series. You're lucky to see 2 of those in these levels of play. And Star...
Please, somebody stop us.
Another Mei death fight alley coming out with those Mei walls. Capslok dropping the wall to try and deny the damage coming out from Peachimaris. VesperSea, however, is just going to deny mobility from the members of Peachimaris. It just sends all of them to have a little lie down in the middle of King's Alley. And it allows just an absolutely smooth, crisp cleanup to just devastate the members of Peachimari. The ultimate economy, though, pretty even on both sides. We've got support ults from both teams, a blizzard from both teams. You want to pay attention to those self-destructs. Star committing his in the last fight doesn't have it to come in here, whereas NanoMagnet does. So Star is going to want to pick that up as fast as possible, because if he doesn't, NanoMagnet might be able to find some big value and stop this push before it even really begins. As the engagement happens around the bookstore, LYNKEECHOW dropping the sound barrier first to keep the team in the fight, but VesperSea gets dropped from the fire strike from WeaselCake, who then charges in and squishes Gullible against the wall. The Blizzards don't find any value outside of those two. NanoMagnet self-destruct also doesn't really find any value. He just uses it to try to get back in mech. P-Dog, Storm Arrow to eliminate NanoMagnet's mech, allowing Weasel to clean up NanoMagnet himself. ZenDis taking out RoseThorn, and the cart is going to head into point B.
Yeah, and as in match chat they're pointing out, LYNKEECHOW's engagement beat there was in fact the BM360 beat. Came in, hit him with a little style there as they just ran over their opposition. WeaselCake there, not afraid to just lay it down. Just absolutely flattening Radioactive. What we're looking for here, Star, this self-destruct, not going to be as big as the last one, but VesperSea gets a massive shatter. These Reinhardt are just going at it. They are absolutely in some sort of competition to see who can get the fattest shatter.
An alpha battle to be sure. You want to look at the time bank? 2 minutes 45 seconds is all Peachimaris have to put this away and basically secure at least a draw, but possibly a victory, and they're going to want to get in quick. And P-Dog getting that opening pick onto RoseThorn is going to allow that to happen. NanoMagnet with some quick reflexes, though, to take ZenDis' Blizzard out of the fight, and it allows P-Dog's Dragon to take down Gullible. ZenDis with Miko, Weasel finding another mirror elimination onto Vesper. The amplification matrix comes out from Kirbellious to just throw out the extra bit of damage and guarantee that this fight is going to end. Nano tossing himself over the edge because he had no support line, no health in his health pool, trying to get regrouped with the team as fast as he could. And the final engagement, what could be the final engagement, comes out as WeaselCake finds the first pick onto RoseThorn. Nano throwing in that self-destruct, but the Mei wall the Mei wall from Gullible just allows members of Peachimari to have some portable cover. The Earth Shatter comes out, finds Miko. A big blizzard coming out from Gullible manages to freeze 5 of the members of Peachimaris, but he gets taken out of the process, so there's no follow-up for it. LYNKEECHOW dropping the sound barrier to just put the period at the end of the sentence, and that is going to be, at best, a draw for Radioactive, and at worst, Peachimaris have just guaranteed themselves a 2-1 lead in this series.
Of course, NanoMagnet did what they could to try and stop that from happening. They ate the blizzard. No popsicles for these dragons today. And really, that last fight was mostly just down. Once P-Dog hit that headshot, it was pretty much over.
Ready for battle.
As once you get that Baptiste out of the equation, you can, you have the Lucio, you can speed forward, and that really just sealed the deal for Radioactive's defense. And finishing with time there, like you mentioned, really benefits Peachimari's, because now, at worst, they finish this map with a draw.
And a draw doesn't, you don't see a draw really happen too often, so a little bit of exciting to see, possibly. These Reinhardts just, I mean, cover your ears if you're under the age of 13, but these Reinhardts just having a hammer competition, we'll call it, just trying to show which one of them is going to be more dominant, and it, honestly, you can't pin it down either way. They just both having stellar performances.
Absolutely, and I think if these Reinhardts, they're both fighting to win, but I think a very fitting end to this map would be a draw. But let's see. I'm sure Peachimari's would disagree with me there. They're going for blood, and WeaselCake getting frozen up. It's gonna fall down to the beam.
Gets taken down by the Symmetra beams, but VesperSea's shield getting broken in the process. You gotta wonder, where's the follow-up from Peachimari's on that? It looks like they might be trying to disengage here, which is going to be the first time I've seen a disengagement from them, honestly, I feel like, in the whole series. But the first King's Row disengagement for sure, and it's absolutely the right play on their part. Capslok gets that Symmetra wall online, and Gullible with the late pick, the stagger on the P-Dog. That is time that Peachimari's does not have to waste. The ultimate economy is in complete favor of Radioactive. Outside of LYNKEECHOW with that sound barrier, he's going to... LYNKEECHOW once again getting the weight of the world on his shoulders, because that sound barrier is going to be the win condition for Peachimari's here. They need this fight to drag out. They need this brawl to be just a slobber knocker of a slugfest. If they don't get that, Radioactive is going to take complete control and keep complete control, as the Symmetra wall just gives them just that, complete control. NanoMagnet throwing in that self-destruct. It doesn't manage to find any value, but it forces out the immortality field from Kirbellious, as LYNKEECHOW drops the sound barrier to get his team in the fight. But Gullible said, I was just waiting for you to do that, because I'm going to throw the Blizzard down on top of that and deny your sound barrier. ZenDis says, haha, you activated my trap card because my Blizzard was waiting for your Blizzard, and it's going to allow the members of Peachimari to get their eliminations. P-Dogs throwing out some dragons to put the exclamation part on the end of the map. Peachimari's ending King's Row, taking a 2-1 lead in this series in what can only be described as the most chaotic match of Overwatch I have ever seen in my 5 years of playing this game. Look at this Earth Shatter, leveling out the entirety of Peachimari's, and then just dancing through. We didn't know VesperSea took ballet classes, but he did. He just walked through on his toes, spinning in circles. The problem is he had a giant rocket hammer with him that weighs about 400, 500 pounds.
Absolutely. And I think you absolutely called it correctly at the beginning when you said we were in for a good map. My goodness, that was absolutely insane. Between that compositional difference that allowed for Peachimari's to come in with a bit of an element of surprise with the P-Dog sub, and then those amazing dragons and the amazing first picks that P-Dog was finding, to Vesper and Weasel just absolutely slamming each other. They were going at it. These two absolutely perfectly matched Reinhardts, blow for blow every single time. And LYNKEECHOW, Miko, Kirbellious, RoseThorn, those supports always stepping up to the plate and doing what they gotta do. It was amazing performance by everyone in that map. That was beautiful. Mwah.
I was fully expecting to go full extra innings, both teams having 2 pushes. I'm a little shocked that it went the way it did. Not the end result, just how we got there. And I want to talk about LYNKEECHOW for a second. LYNKEECHOW has been a phenomenal Lucio throughout this entire series. I could count on one hand the amount of times that Miko's ultimate progress at the start of engagements versus the end of engagements has been higher than LYNKEECHOW's. LYNKEECHOW speed boost, speeding his team into fights out of danger, amping up the heals when he needs to, and getting the weight of the world put on his shoulders with those sound barriers, doing a great job. As we go into Route 66, which is going to be our pure escort map, I have to wonder, is that going to still be enough? Because even though you have the better ultimate economy and you're putting out arguably probably a higher amount of healing because your ultimate is getting met faster, there's some very questionable engagements with those sound barriers. It's unquestionably the greatest defensive support ult, if not the greatest ultimate period in the entire game. It's not an ultimate that you want to be using to engage. Now, it worked out in that last fight on King's Row because he had ZenDis's Blizzard to follow up on behind it, but he drops the sound barrier and it immediately gets negated by Gullible's Blizzard, and that wasn't the first time that we had seen something like that happen. So, I'm kind of raising an eyebrow with that, but who knows? I've been wrong about things before, and again, heading into Route 66, we might not even see the Lucio at all. We have a lot of substitutions coming through on the side of Peachimaris. We have Sushi back in for P-Dog. We have Trashley coming in for Kirbellious.
Yeah, and Trashley subbing out Kirbellious tells me they're probably not going to be playing the BAP because, I mean, Kirbellious has been doing absolutely phenomenally on the Baptiste, but it does make me wonder if they want to go for something like a Zen, because Kirbellious was also doing pretty well on the Ana. Although maybe I'm just, like, overthinking it.
Always better to overthink than underthink, I say.
Exactly.
But, like you were saying, Kirbellious, known for that Baptiste, just absolutely an amazing job managing to keep the team up and put out Soldier 76 values of damage in the process. Trashley, we might be seeing that Zenyatta. The Discord Orb, Zenyatta, honestly, a phenomenal character to run on Route 66. Just a perfect fit in any regard. So we could be seeing that. We could be seeing probably some more dive-heavy compositions coming through for Peachimaris with, with Sushi coming back in, with Trashley being subbed in. No substitutions on the side of Radioactive, which kind of... we had said, it's turning into consistency, and while kind of counterintuitive here, it has turned into a consistency match. However, the continued consistent performance that Radioactive have been putting out is being undone by the consistent roller coaster of a performance that Peachimaris are putting in. They consistently thrive in the chaotic brawls. And what are we getting if not consistent chaotic brawls? Chaotic brawls in every fight, chaotic brawls in every engagement. Well, I'm Peachimaris, and I am living right at home in these chaotic brawls. So, we kind of put our foot in our mouth here a little bit, T, because we did say, hey, consistency is what you need, and we said that in favor of Radioactive at the time. And now we have Peachimaris over here saying, oh, you want consistency? All right, I'll give you consistency. You will give you the exact same type of fight every single time. And
you know what? I'm fine with that. They're entertaining fights.
They are entertaining fights. Absolutely entertaining fights. We have a disconnect here, so we're still in a little bit of a pause, a little bit of technical difficulties. So stay with us, bear with us a little bit here. But let's talk more about those engagements. The consistent devastation of these just drag out fights. And they're not even, dare I say, they're not even clean fights. They're just, we're in, I see movement, I shoot it. And somehow it's working out for Peachimaris. They're prepared for that. I don't think they go into these, it appears, I'm not going to say I don't think, it appears with the way that these fights play out, it appears that they don't go into these fights with any sort of strategy or target prioritization. They get in and they say, what do we see? That person over there is alone and or weak because of the little bit of poke engagement that we had before we got in. Jump them. They're playing dive strategies with brawl compositions, and it's working.
And I think that's just a testament to the coordination going on between WeaselCake, LYNKEECHOW, and just the rest of the team in general, because they're able to identify those targets, even if they're not necessarily going into a fight with the idea, okay, let's kill this Lucio. They can see, okay, this Lucio is getting pressured, so we might be able to finish the deal onto the Lucio, and then at that point we just, win. I want to talk about these comps. Sushi was brought back in to play the Tracer, and I'm not sure how I feel about the double shield with the Tracer. I mean, obviously it gives you a lot of sustainability. You can just sit on top of big Earls, order a burger and fries, get your gas, and then, continue the fight when your shield is broken in a matter of 6 to 8 business days. But, I mean, I would have preferred to see something a little bit more poke-heavy than maybe this Tracer. I do kind of like the Torb, though, not just because it's funny. On the flip side, we're going to see a dive comp. They're just going to try and go in hard and fast, and that's really where the Brig is going to come into play.
Oh!
And Star with the Rock coming into play. I guess I'll eat my words about the Torb being the deciding factor there. Star's like, nope, Rock.
Star says, watch this. An engagement on top of Big Earls costs VesperSea his life, but Capslok manages to trade out Trashley, so a 5-on-5 is going to allow this brawl to continue to commence. LYNKEECHOW playing that Tracer Eraser Brigitte manages to take out Capslok. Peachimari's defense is slowly folding here, and we're going to have to see if Radioactive can capitalize on it. They're keeping that cart moving.
If you look at it, the Radioactive has gotten this cart very far. And I don't want to say for free, because it has cost them a couple of lives, but at the same time, there hasn't been a lot of meaningful resistance in terms of time. That Red's gonna come through!
Oh, no, it's not!
ZenDis, an absolute fiend on the Torbjorn.
ZenDis playing that anti-air cannon, taking out the 2 flyers of Mercy and Echo. Finally stops the push, but if I'm Radioactive, I'm still kind of okay with that, because you got the cart past the impossible curve here that makes or break matches. If you never make it past that, the match ends. If you do, that match is going to go on.
Absolutely. Hard and fast in on the back line. Trashley does manage to find VesperSea, but he's going to get rezzed basically immediately. And now Radioactive looking to be in a pretty good position, but that Rock, I believe what just happened is Star just rocked Gullible into the pulse bomb. That is an amazing amount of coordination.
NanoMagnet getting that Nano to try and build up that self-destruct fast as they can as the Tracer duel commences around the cart. Don't worry though, it's only like Dragon Ball Z's 5-minute Frieza fight, because time is nothing for those 2 characters. Sushi finally getting the better of his mirror as the anti-air cannon ZenDis takes down VesperSea. Sushi eliminating Miko is going to stop the it's going to stop the push, rather. I almost flipped the teams around in my head. Sushi taking down, that's not something you see every day, a Tracer taking down an Echo.
Yeah, Sushi coming in with the cleanup, and I want to talk about ZenDis' positioning that fight. It was immaculate. He was just Fortress ZenDis, standing behind the Rock, just putting out so much damage relatively safely, too. The healers were there to peel for him, the tanks were there, and he could just stand there relatively risk-free. Star, fight now underway as Capslok falls.
Star with that early engagement, using his ultimate on a Winston and a Tracer, so slightly raising a question mark as to the decision making there, but members of Radioactive kind of ran off, wasn't much that could be done there. Self-destruct gets thrown in by NanoMagnet, costing Trashley the immortality field and then eventually his life with Gullible. A whip shot from LYNKEECHOW takes down that baby diva. ZenDis throwing out his anti-personnel lava. Gullible duplicating that break, but gets knocked out of it immediately as the anti-personnel lava takes down Capslok. LYNKEECHOW not only taking down the duplicate, but taking down the Echo as well. Miko is going to spread those wings and fly away as RoseThorn gets caught out. Are they going to manage to secure that elimination? They are not, because NanoMagnet is on point, rolling in to protect his support. And with 5 seconds left, the final fight is going to happen. Is overtime going to get triggered? It is, but it's going to cost VesperSea his life. NanoMagnet getting demected in the process. No tanks on the side of Radioactive. He does jump right into the bongo. Sushi and ZenDis finding the support eliminations, and the overtime counter is going to tick away. The cart stops, parked right in front of Big Earl's. Earl's calling a tow truck because we're going to get that out of there. Radioactive not even managing to get a point on Route 66. Peachimaris have victory in their sights, T.
And I know I was kind of ragging on Peachimaris for the double shield, but it actually worked like very well into their advantage, with the Tracer being able to run around, and then obviously Fortress ZenDis at the corner, and him able basically just to sit there, because the rest of his team, when they were on that road next to Big Earl's, everyone was focused on them, and he could easily just overload, fall back behind the shields. So I know I just keep harping on how good ZenDis' positioning was, but it's truly phenomenal.
When it's good, it's good. And having just everything in his arsenal to pressure the entirety of Radioactive. You know, I keep calling him anti-air Zen. Let's get some anti-air Zens in chat, because those flyers just never stood a chance. Miko and Gullible on that Mercy Echo just dropped out of the sky every time. But then he's also running anti-personnel, taking out the infantry, putting Sushi down into the lava pit, melting him down into nothing, having the damage output from overloading and the rivet gun. Just absolutely dominant performance. Not something you typically expect to see out of Torbjorns at this level of play. So, an amazing job.
We're going to see almost a bit of a swap here, where the double shield online now for Radioactive and the dive coming through for Peachimari. However, Radioactive have opted for the more poke-heavy version of a double shield, compared to the sort of, compared to the sort of more brawly, up-in-your-face, setting up a spot and becoming the immovable wall, come however close you may. And I don't know how I feel about it, given what we saw last game. They've already made it a considerable way there, and I like NanoMagnet's positioning here on the point to make sure they don't get all the way in for free.
Absolutely, and Capslok had free value up on that high ground, but he gets just destroyed by WeaselCake. And Gullible having that Dragon Strike online super fast. These double snipers putting in the work that they need. This WeaselCake going to throw out that Primal Rage, and he does take down VesperSea, takes down Gullible. He might be able to push in the cart, clutching the match out at the end there. Jumps in to try and pressure out the team, and that's it. Peachimaris are going to take Route 66 and take the series 3-1 with WeaselCake just clutching out that final fight with that Primal Rage.
Yeah, and that was an absolutely dominant showing for the Peachimaris on this map. They really just did not move ever. And here we're going to see ZenDis' three-piece there with the anti-air Torb. But they really just did not give anything there. There was no mercy afforded. And that is exactly what you want to see in this kind of tournament.
Absolutely. No mercy afforded. Twofold. They gave them no chance, and ZenDis just refused to let Miko have any value on that mercy.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I enjoy a good pun myself. It's a very heavily favored in Bush culture. A 3-1 victory for Peachimaris, a well-fought victory for Peachimaris. Don't look at that scorecard and think that Radioactive took that laying down. They put in a hard-fought match. They took control of every fight that they could take. They put in every single defense point that they could to stall out fights and stall out point progress, reduce time banks as much as they could, but it just wasn't, unfortunately, it just wasn't their strong suit. The chaos, shades of Season 1 Overwatch League New York Excelsior is the Peachimaris. Just chaos is where they thrive. And Radioactive, unfortunately, they need more control of the fight to secure their victories, and they just were not having it. Not for lack of trying, just, you know, if I'm the Peachimaris, it's hard to let my enemy have control of the card game when I'm flipping the table over and throwing it out the window.
Absolutely. They definitely did just take the cards, throw them up into the air, pull out another deck, and then light it on fire. It was absolutely insane. And especially on King's Row, that I'm still gushing over that map. That was possibly the best map of Overwatch I have ever seen.
Phenomenal Overwatch, absolutely. We're going to cut to a quick break as we get some post-match interviews set up with a member of each team, so stay with us. You are not going to want to miss this. Welcome back, everybody, to the Peachimaris tournament hosted by the Peachimaris. We have here with us NanoMidget from Team Radioactive. Nano, a tough loss to be sure, but you guys put up one hell of a fight. You definitely made Peachimaris earn that victory, and you yourself had an absolutely phenomenal performance. You had ultimate negations left and right. The damage mitigation that we were seeing come through on your diva was incredible. Um, I do have to ask, what what do you think was sort of the focal point of what allowed Peachimaris to kind of control the momentum? Like, what do you think kind of contributed to their map control starting from map 2 on?
So our team, we've only been together for about a month and a half, 2 months now, but I'd say one of our struggles that we've had is target focus. Like that issue was put on glaring display when we tried to run dive on Route 66. I think we all know how that map ended. So we're really going to be putting our nose to the grinders and ironing out that issue over the next week.
Well, if that's something that you guys are able to iron out, I immediately foresee you guys becoming a force to be reckoned with, because one glaring difference that we were seeing between the two teams is Peachimari seemed to thrive in these chaotic brawl dragged out matches, but with you guys, especially when you were in full control, full swing with your diva, when you guys had control of a fight, you had control of a fight and you were shutting down. There were many fights that you shut down the second they started. It was, oh, look, there's an engagement, it's done. And a lot of that honestly, I feel like we can contribute to the amazing synergy that you had with VesperSea. The two of you were just, honestly, when you were in full momentum, you guys were in full momentum, unstoppable. And being together only a month and a half, 2 months as a team, as you say, that's absolutely phenomenal in my eyes, that you guys managed to have that much synergy to be able to fight Peachimaris as hard as you did. That 3-1 scorecard does not do how close these matches were justice.
Oh yeah, thank you for that. We were super hyped the whole way through. We were just having fun, we were vibing, and we were in it.
Yeah. When you were going into fights, a lot of the time, what was your general approach to a lot of the fights that you guys took? Were you looking for something in particular, or did you just kind of YOLO it?
Well, we always have a plan for like who we're going in, who our target is, what ults we're gonna use. You know, standard fight plans. And then we just follow the call of our target caller. And it's once the ult is called, it's on the player to use it. So
pretty straightforward, right there.
Yeah, pretty standard on our comms in that situation.
Do you anticipate being a force to be reckoned with throughout the entirety of this season?
Absolutely. We came here to compete.
And I don't see any reason to doubt that statement at all.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Nano, thank you for your time. It's been a wonderful time watching you play Overwatch. It's been a wonderful time having you here with us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Now, we are going to bring in our MVP of the match from the winning team, Peachimari.
Yeah, 3, 2, 1.
Here's the man.
The man of the hour, Anti-Air Zen. ZenDis, welcome. First off, congratulations on a wonderful victory over Radioactive. You guys put on a phenomenal display of skill, power, and control today. How are you feeling right now coming off of that victory?
I'm feeling all over the place. It's a very good feeling, I'll tell you that.
Now, we have already coined ourselves a new nickname for you in, as I had said earlier, Anti-Air Zen, because that Torbjorn just consistently throughout the entirety of Route 66 was just keeping those flyers of the Mercy, the Echo, and anyone else who decided to dare take their feet off the ground, just put them straight back down onto the ground, sometimes maybe even under it with all those eliminations that you were getting. Was the Torbjorn a planned pick, or was that something that you guys just decided, we'll kind of meme around and see if it works?
Yeah, no, that was not a planned pick at all. Our team captain Weasel suggested that I go Tor because I'm not too great with hitscan DPS, and I was just like, I can't play anything else that kind of works with this comp, so let's try Torb, see how it goes. If it doesn't go well, I'll switch off and do something else.
Oh, well, it went. The the anti-air control that you had with that turret, and the rivet gun still putting out an insane amount of damage onto those tanks, and then your anti-personnel of your molten core ultimate just spewing all over the point and not letting anyone touch it. You even managed to drop Sushi and just turn that tracer into mush, and it was honestly, it was quite comical to watch, just the amount of control that you guys had.
Yeah, that match was definitely like a fun match because in my head, like playing Torb at that moment, there was no planning. I was just like, okay, and try and do things. Hopefully, things turn out okay.
Well, you could definitely say that they did. Very dominant performance on the Swedish man.
Yeah.
Now, another thing is throughout the course of the series, the Peachimaris seemed to display a penchant for what I refer to as shades of the Season 1 NYXL in the Overwatch League. The longer a fight was drawn out, the more you guys seemed to thrive. And I have to ask, is that the practice style of Peachimaris, or is that something that once it happened, everything just kind of came naturally to you guys and it was just, oh, chaos? Yes, thank you.
Yeah, our team definitely, over time that we've worked together, we figured out that we thrive off of chaos. When we first got together, we started practicing. The first comp that we practiced was Rush, and we always had problems sort of getting into those roles, figuring out what to do, when to do it. But when we started playing 6-man and Winston-based comps, that's when we started really thriving and started finding our roles as a team and started actually progressing in our matches. And we really tried to focus on basically throwing ourselves at the enemy, being the faster person, because our wonderful coach Hippie always tells us to be faster and to basically outpace everyone. So we really try to do that with our Winston-based comps.
It certainly showed tonight. Anytime that any semblance of control went out the window, everything immediately seemed to swing in favor of the Peachimaris. I think we caught maybe one fight where it went chaos theory and you guys didn't pull off winning that team fight. That's across the whole series. One fight I think was the most you guys had lost chaos theory fights. It was just an absolutely dominant performance from everyone. And your Torbjorn, even if you're saying it was a meme pick, that's something that I think everyone needs to be kind of a little wary of, because that was a performance I would want to see again.
Yeah, if you end up whipping out the Torb again in another match, then absolutely that is going to be a treat to watch.
I'll definitely make sure to keep that in mind.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, Zen. Congratulations again on that victory. Go celebrate with your team. You guys have earned it.
Thank you very much. You guys have a good night.
Thank
too.
you. Wow. Just T, I don't even know where to begin. This series was nothing short of incredible.
Absolutely. It was so back and forth. We saw DPS players clutching it up at the crucial moment. We saw insane use of ultimates like Diva Bomb, Earth Shatter. We saw two Reinhardts who were perfectly matched, going blow for blow every fight. It was beautiful.
Vying for supremacy were those Reinhardts. We saw tanks clutching it out with that just phenomenal primal rage at the end of Route 66 to secure the series. The support lines were I gotta say, the support lines on both teams, very feast or famine. They were either on point, keeping their team up through anything, through thick and thin, through even keeping them up through ultimates. And then on the other side of that coin, we had there's no cure for stupidity and just nothing.
Absolutely. They do
Supports
deserve a lot of the credit, though.
I gotta say, if I'm gonna pick an MVP throughout the entirety of this match, though, it has to be Peachimari's star. Just ultimate denial, damage denial, crowd control, zoning with those ultimates from the Diva Bomb, damage output coming out from that Diva Bomb, control over high grounds, placement, displacing the enemy team. You name anything Diva is capable of doing and or should be doing, Star was doing it.
And that includes the remake kills. And it was
We saw a
not
remake
only,
kill.
Not only was there solid, legitimate, very good Diva play, but there was also a little bit of pizzazz to it that made it just that bit more interesting to watch. And
We had a Diva get demeched, left alive as Baby Diva, remech, get demeched again, throw the self-destruct, almost get an elimination with it, get back in mech, and allow their team to get back to contest the point on King's Row. What even is that? You do not see that anywhere. You don't see that in Overwatch League. You don't see that in your own regular custom games. You wouldn't see that from the top 500 all the way down to the bronze. You would not see a Diva remech twice in a single fight and allow her team to get back with it.
Absolutely. That was probably the best stall I've seen in a very long time.
I'm going to see that in my dreams tonight.
I am never going to stop seeing it. It has been permanently burned into my eyes.
Seared up into the brains.
Absolutely.
Well, that is going to do it for us here in Peachimari's hosted Overwatch tournament. Thank you all so much for sticking with us. Make sure you hit that follow button to stay notified of whenever we go live for our next matches. I am BranbleBush. I've been joined here with my good man, Teab. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.